we now see thousands of square miles with this awful sludge. And although the spill started about 50 miles offshore, it has now reached the Louisiana coastline. You are saying to us that BP is doing everything in its power to ensure that this spill is being stopped, and that you currently estimate that the leaking is 5,000 barrels of oil per day into the Gulf. But this isn't the only rig that BP operates in the Gulf. In its oil response plan for the Gulf of Mexico, BP identified a worst-case scenario for exploratory well explosion from offshore drilling in the Gulf of Mexico as a leak that would release 250,000 barrels of oil per day into the ocean about 30 miles off the coast of Louisiana. The specific exploration plan that you provided to regulators for the Horizon well states, since BP Exploration and Production Incorporated has the capability to respond to the appropriate worst-case spill scenario, I hereby certify that BP Exploration and Production Incorporated has the capability to respond to the maximum extent practicable to a worst-case discharge. So right now, Deepwater Horizon well is leaking an estimated 5,000 barrels per day, about 2% of the worst-case scenario of 250,000 barrels, which your company assured the government, the American people, that it was capable of addressing in the Gulf. So if BP is already using every available resource to combat this spill of 5,000 barrels per day, and it can't stop this spill from worsening, then I can't understand how in the world you can certify that you had the capability to respond to a spill of 250,000 barrels per day. Mr. McKay, you had better rethink your certification for a worst-case spill of 250,000 barrels per day. Can you really say now, as you sit here, that that certification is accurate, that you can respond to a daily spill of 250,000 barrels per day?
What I would say is that we are responding with 3 drilling rigs, a surface response plan that was in place, detailed, and is the largest that's ever been put in place.
Are you saying to us that you would use exactly the same resources for a spill of 5,000 barrels per day, which is what we have now, as you would for a spill of 250,000 barrels per day?
Each spill would be specific. This particular one is complicated, that the emergency disconnect did not work on top of the blowout preventer, so we are still connected with a riser that's 4,300 feet long. We cannot get another blowout preventer on top of it right now, which would be the normal course in something like normal, but something you could do if the riser was...
No, I understand that, but right now BP is scrambling to find enough booms. You're going to use nylons and hair to soak up the oil. I can only conclude that you really don't have the resources to respond to a spill of 250,000 barrels, and there are wells all over the Gulf that are ticking time bombs that could result in spills of 250,000 barrels per day. Do you really think that you can certify, again, today, that you could respond to a spill of 250,000 barrels per day?
As I said, we're doing everything we can. I believe that we will learn things through this, there's no doubt, and I believe that those certifications will be with the knowledge that we have.
I just wish that you had a little more humility here today and an admission that you don't have it. You know, last week you tried to plug the leaks with a huge dome, which failed when it froze up. Now we're reading about a smaller top hat dome. If that fails, the solution looks increasingly desperate: to plug the leak with a junk shot of golf balls and old tires and knotted ropes soaking up some of the oil with hair and nylons. Each of your companies has represented itself as technology leaders in deep water oil and gas exploration, and each of you now is flailing about with no clue about how you're going to get out of the mess that you've gotten yourselves into. Top hats, golf balls, tires, hair, nylons, these are not the response actions of companies who are prepared for the worst case scenario accident and capable of carrying out that response plan. The American people expect your companies to have a technological response to this disaster on par with the Apollo project, not Project Runway. And that's what they're seeing night after night. You need to do better, and you need to prepare for a worst-case scenario, for the ticking time bomb that could be out there somewhere off the coast of the United States. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.